They say TED Talks should always begin with a sort of personal narrative. The only personal narrative I have is something that Mamaisha has already mentioned. Because I couldn't say a sentence until I was 7 or 8 years old. I had a lisp, which is perhaps still visible in the way I speak, and I also had a stutter. And I couldn't complete sentences at all. I couldn't even say my own name. And surprisingly enough, I made the slightly not so intelligent decision of becoming a debater. This eventually paved the way in which I am now a debate coach at this very institution, which is why I think inclusion matters to me a lot. But I think the textbook definitions of inclusion will be something that almost everyone talks to you about. I mean, the ways in which people might feel included in terms of perhaps the economy, perhaps their ethnicity, perhaps the disabilities that they have, or perhaps their gender. So I'm going to talk to you about something which I think is a slightly harsher reality, which we sometimes gloss on when we talk about inclusion in general, which is that no one can be excluded if there isn't someone to exclude them. What this means is, when we are in environments, sometimes the exclusion is done by people or by ourselves in ways that we could not imagine. So perhaps the person who, perhaps an autistic student at school, is excluded by his peers unknowingly, and they are students just as you are students. Or perhaps the female lawyer at the bar or perhaps at the court is excluded by male lawyers such as myself. Or perhaps individuals in every other facet of life are isolated by the actions that we undertake as individuals. I do not mean to say that all of us are bad people. I do not also mean to lay blame to the things that we do in terms of our environments or the way we interact with people. What I'm saying is, sometimes we are part of a society that has been founded on exclusionary practices and traditions and norms and cultures. And the way to break that is often by interrogation, is often by questioning the sort of beliefs that we have internalized into ourselves. And that, quite simply, is the rationale behind why we chose this particular topic for this TED Talk. The speakers who will follow me are more experienced, more learned, and are more capable of talking about a huge swath of experiences that might fall within the inclusive practice. However, it is important for all of us to not just listen to them, but to also accept that we might have been ignorant at some part of our lives of not perhaps advancing the process of inclusion in multiple environments, or perhaps just the ways in which we interact with everyone that we come about. So, the thing that I would want you to do is to listen to everyone unsparingly and to perhaps take away lessons that you perhaps would not have had this TED Talk not have taken place. So the lesson for inclusion and the revolution begins simply by listening to what other people have had to say and the experiences that they have lived. If that is done well today, I think that is an achievement that all of us should perhaps be proud of. And for that reason, I would not just thank the people who came here today to join us at this particular event, but also like to thank you for perhaps lending an ear to what we believe will be the start of a new inclusive age. Thank you.